Hey guys, Brad Gilmore here. Want to give a big shout out to our title sponsor, Walker Texas Lawyer. If you or a loved one have been injured in an accident, whether that be a car, truck, motorcycle accident, or some kind of other issue, hit up Walker Texas Lawyer at 713-552-1117 or walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad. Good morning to you. How are you?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Bradford. Lucky to talk to me, funny lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat.
Brad Gilmore! All right, and we're rolling here. Jake, thanks so much for taking the time, man. Congratulations on this movie.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So I'll be honest with you. I went into the movie in a way I wish I could go into every movie. Not looking too much into it, not looking at the trailers, just watching it for the film that it was. I was absolutely blown away. Now, obviously, being here from Texas, love some bull riding. I knew a lot of these characters, growing up, honestly. But congratulations, the movie was enthralling, man.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, as it pertains to, I'm from Texas too. I'm from Dallas, so I hope no one from Houston kind of holds that against me with this.
It's okay.
But in the movie business, like at least we're all from Texas.
That's right.
You know that. But yeah, I mean, this was a movie that I'd worked on for 8 years. But growing up in Texas, it's a story that I've held in my heart my whole life. Even when we were looking at other directors, I kept coming back to the fact of like, do they love this as much as me? Do they care about it as much as me? Because I love Texas. I love rodeo. I love the cowboy hat. I was just saying in my last interview, I get emotional just looking at cowboy hats sometimes, and it might be weird, but I've just come to accept it. And yeah, I just wanted to honor that the sport, but also the way of life that it represents.
Yeah, what's so great about it is people outside the state and probably outside of Houston and Dallas area don't understand how big the rodeo is. The Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, obviously massive. My father was a member for a long time, lifetime member actually. And it's so ingrained into the culture and the DNA. So you said that was the germ of the idea, is just you're growing up and where did the story kind of hit you for the first time when you're like, oh, hey, this could be something?
I think, it was twofold. It was growing up, I played football in Dallas. So Friday Night Lights was a big part of, my actual life, but also in terms of me getting into the entertainment business, it was one of the first movies that I saw that was like kind of about me and about my community and my world. And I was like, oh, wow, if I ever write a movie, that's what I want to do. I want to tell stories that I have a point of view on. And like you said, you said you knew those characters growing up, and I felt the same way about a lot of these cowboys. And so I very quickly, once I moved to Los Angeles and started doing screenwriting, I was like, man, I want to tell a movie that authentically portrays, not only the cowboy community, but the rodeo community specifically.
And you did that. And let me ask you this, when you talk about screenwriting, writing this movie, because I'm always just fascinated by process. So I just love a process question. So, I mean, is it like you do the Save the Cat beat sheet? Are you looking at Sid Fields? Like, how do you do this?
Heck no, I do not. I have nothing. I respect people who write structurally and the 3 acts and, like you said, to Save the Cat and all that. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but it's not my way. My way is to go to every rodeo that I can. It's to meet every cowboy that I can. It's to go down to Lockhart and train with our cowboy coordinator and live in a trailer behind his house and bull ride with him every day. And I really believe that if you just ingest yourself into a world, the movie will come to you. And I found at every stage when I looked away from me trying to create a great movie and just looked at the honest truth, that always led to the most cinematic moments in the movie.
How different was that first draft to what the shooting script was? Were there a lot of
Well,
changes?
what's amazing in there was that there were tons of changes, scene changes, character changes, whole scenes rewritten or cut. But then there's a couple things that just lasted forever, which I think is always a cool part of a film, is like those kind of genetic level DNA things, even if it's just a line that you're like, oh, that's what this whole movie's about. And those are the kinds of things to hold on to. There's the scene in the movie, the character C. Thomas Howell plays kind of the patriarch of this film, and he's basically given up everything he can to try and save his daughter and get her moved to a better cancer hospital. And he's selling his saddles. He's clearing out his barn. And one scene that had kind of always been in the film was him selling his horse. And I always had pictured in my head this big wide shot of a cowboy in the road just standing there as that trailer drives away with his horse, and ultimately driving away with his way of life, with his past. And I'll let the audience and the critics tell me if it's good or not. That's not for me to decide or say, but I know that shot in the movie is exactly what I pictured in my head day one of writing the script. And for me, that's what makes me so proud about this film. And I remember on set, it was our day 2 of shooting. I had to like step away into the trees and like have a cry with myself. Because I was like, we did it and we're doing it. And that was kind of one of the first days when I was like, we're doing it right.
What were the challenges though of, because look, I know on even my level, I've done stuff in TV where I write something, you're helping produce the segment, and then you got to go in and host it. And for me, sometimes I get frazzled because there's so many things in the air. You're like juggling chainsaws. Did you have that experience, wearing all these hats, both literally and metaphorically, doing
For
this movie?
sure. Absolutely. I mean, the positive of wearing all the hats was that there's just less lines of communication. As the screenwriter, I could change something and not have to get it approved by the director because that was just me. Or I didn't have to check with the actor playing Peter because that was my character. So, in a lot of ways, it made life easier on set. But certainly, on a movie, you've got, 50 people that all need something from the director usually. That's usually who they need their answer from. And for sure, it could be tough when I'm acting because I can't be looking at the monitor. I can't be answering a question because I'm off doing another duty. And that's why it was so important to build a community. What I loved about making this movie was that, yes, I was the director, but it took so many people to tell this story. I mean, it was one of the reasons we shot at a live rodeo because it just made my life easier. I'm like, why would I bring sand to the beach? I'll just go to a rodeo, you know. Casting C. Thomas Howell and Forey J. Smith, who rode bulls as kids. I mean, C. Thomas was sending me pictures of him riding bulls at 12 years old.
Wow.
Casting him makes my life easier. Annabeth Gish playing my mom in the film, and the sheriff, the law, the iconic law woman in the movie. Best job I ever did as a director was simply the best job I ever did was hiring her. You know what I mean? It just makes my life a lot easier on set.
What was there though at one point at all where you said, "Man, like this is more than I expected"? Did you have that other than you mentioned your overwhelming emotion shooting that scene and executing it? Did you have something on the other side to where you're like, "Wow, this is a bigger challenge than I thought"? Because I can only imagine shooting something in a real rodeo, all the logistical challenges of setting up those shots, and you're dealing with live animals and a lot of extras.
Yeah, I mean the rodeo was a lot for sure. I would say, talking with maybe, man, maybe talking with 4J Smith and C. Thomas Howell kind of right before we started shooting and as we were starting shooting, once I realized that we were telling a very real story for a lot of people. This movie is not based on a true story, but it is about a real world. Rodeo is real, as you know. And once I realized that every story is a true story for somebody, and once I realized that, the movie also deals with cancer, alcoholism, and once I started to realize I was telling someone's real story, that's definitely when pressure would set in. And it's also a wonderful challenge, but pressure's pressure. And yeah, there were definitely times when I said, "Oh my gosh, if this movie goes south, will I have dishonored the cowboy?" And as you know from Texas, that is not a place you want to be in.
No, that's one seat you don't want to find yourself sitting in. And you talk about C. Thomas Howell too, just again, if you didn't know that he wasn't from Texas, like, right? I mean, he nails so many small nuances and the idiosyncrasies of those guys who are the patriarchs, who are in the small towns. My grandfather grew up in Damon, Texas, 535 people, a lot of cotton fields, a lot of, crops. That was him, man. Like, it was him, and I felt it when I was watching it. So again, congratulations on it. My last question is this: is you've done this movie. Is this something that you would want to do again if you found another authentic story to you where you'd like to juggle everything and see it from literally the page to the screen to the editing room floor?
Absolutely. I definitely caught the directing bug. And in particular, I love telling modern Westerns. I've really found that that's my space. That's what I think I can do well. That's what I like to explore. And I think there's a lot to be said about the modern West of America. I mean, small towns across the United States are changing very rapidly right now, and not always for the better. I want to tell their stories, and I would be so proud to continue to be their voice if they'll have me.
Well, you did everybody here in the Lone Star State proud. This movie's great. It really is. It's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing the story, and thank you so much, man, for sharing some time with me so we could chop it up a little bit.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate Houston's support.
That's
And
right,
Houston,
man.
and I will admit, even from Dallas, I've never been to a rodeo as big as the Houston rodeo.
Hey, man, we do it big down here.
Yeah,
We do it big.
Respect it.
But I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much, Jake.
Thank you.
Have a good one, brother.